Since 2023, I have completed over 20,000 deliveries through DoorDash and Amazon Flex. 20,000 doors, 20,000 destinations, thousands of hours on the road, early mornings, late nights, traffic, rain, silence, repetition, and somewhere between all of that, I started learning lessons that had nothing to do with delivery. Because when you spend that much time alone, driving through cities, observing people, and thinking about life, you start seeing things differently. You start realizing what matters and what doesn't. This video is not about delivery apps. It's about discipline, direction, growth, and what years of repetition taught me about life. When I first started gig work, I thought freedom meant controlling my own schedule. No boss, flexible hours, work whenever I want. At first, it felt exciting, and honestly, in some ways it was. But over time, I realized something important. Freedom without direction can quietly become another trap. There were days I worked from early morning until late at night, sometimes driving through traffic for hours, sometimes sitting in parking lots waiting for orders, sometimes driving in heavy rain, sometimes exhausted but still continuing because felt like I had to keep moving. And after repeating the same routine for so long, I realized something scary. A person can get so used to survival mode that they stop thinking about where their life is actually going. That's when I realized real freedom is not just having time. Real freedom is having direction. One thing I learned after thousands of deliveries is this. Most people are not lacking potential. They are lacking consistency. Because when you repeat something every single day, you realize life is less about motivation and more about habits. Some days I felt motivated, some days I didn't. Some days I was focused, some days I was mentally exhausted, but I still kept moving. And honestly, doing something thousands of times changes the way you think. You begin noticing how automatic life becomes. The same roads, the same restaurants, the same notifications, the same routines every single day. And it made me realize how many people live their entire lives on autopilot without ever stepping back and asking themselves, where is all of this leading me? That thought stayed in my mind for a long time. Even if during those years while working long hours, I kept trying to grow outside of work. I took college classes, I earned certifications, I kept learning because deep down I always knew I wanted something bigger than survival. Not overnight success, not fake internet motivation, but real growth, the kind that takes years. And honestly, there were moments where I felt physically tired but mentally awake. Late at night, after long days on the road, thinking about the future, thinking about life, thinking about becoming more and more. Some of my deepest thinking happened alone in the car. No distractions, no noise, just thoughts. And after a while, I realized something important. Money alone is not enough. Money alone is not enough. A person can stay busy every single day and still feel lost without purpose. That's why discipline matters so much. It matters and it matters so much because discipline gives direction to your life when motivation disappears. Another thing I realized is how much environment affects your mindset. Over the years, I drove through so many different cities across the Bay Area, from Richmond to Fremont, from Moraga to Martinez, different lifestyles, different energy, different ways people live. And when you spend years moving through different environments every single day, you start thinking different. You start observing things differently. You notice how people think, how they spend their time, how they carry themselves, how environment slowly shapes identity, and honestly, seeing all of that made me reflect on my own life too. Because eventually I realized I didn't just want to work endlessly. I wanted to build something meaningful for my future, something with purpose, something that continues growing over time. That's one of the reasons I created this channel. Not because I have life completely figured out, but because I believe growth is a continuous process. I wanted a place where I could share thoughts, lessons, experiences, and perspectives from real life. Not fake perfection, not pretending to be a hero, just real experiences, real lessons, and real growth. And honestly, I know there are people out there who also feel like they want more from life, more direction, more discipline, and more purpose. People who are trying to build themselves step by step, just like I am. And maybe while building this channel, I'll continue building myself too. At the end of all of this, 20,000 deliveries taught me something important. Life can quietly become repetition if you're not careful. The same routes, the same routines, the same days passing over and over again. And maybe that's why I started thinking differently. Not because I hated the work, but because deep down I knew I wanted to build something greater for my future, something meaningful, because eventually every person reaches a moment where they have to ask themselves. They have to ask what? They have to ask themselves, what am I building myself toward? And honestly, I think a lot of people today are searching for direction. Maybe that's why you clicked on this video too. This is only the beginning. I am Latif and welcome to Dynamics with Latif.